Today we will go through all the necessary steps to create a REST API using Rocket in Rust. And afterwards we're going to add a database connection so we can create some crude endpoints. So we'll start by creating a new project. By calling cargo init, we create a new blank project. Next, we are going to add Rocket.rs our dependency. Now, Rocket version 5 is not 0.5 is not out officially. They're still in RC3 at this point of the recording, but I have found it quite stable. So we don't need the main anymore. We will name this basically Rocket as our entry point, which will make a sync. So now this needs a decorator to know that this is actually the launch point of the application. Then we will create a rocket build mount. I'm using Copilot. As you can see, it's really helpful. And we will name our function. This is actually the function name of the route. Well, index will do fine. And we don't put any semicolon at the end because this is basically the object we want to return from that function. Next, we will create a get endpoint, which, as it already guessed, this is named index, and it doesn't return a static text. In this case, we don't want that. We want to return a status. Well, why not accepted? We need to add response status when we want to include Rocket, and we need to add macro use as well. I have typo. So now if we go outside, we can build our project. And we can run. And as you can see, now we have an API which we can hit on port 8000. Open, go to my next window and do a curl. And we can get hello world. simply we can also name our endpoint. So when we try the same thing again, we're going to get a 404 because that route doesn't exist anymore. Instead, if we hit start, we'll get the hello world. I think the reason Copilot works so well in this case is because I have done that a lot of times. So next step will be to create a Postgres database using Docker. So I'll use Docker Compose. So we'll go with 3.7. Something basic. And we will name our DB tutorial as well. Sorry, not much imagination. Then we need to expose the ports. Actually, this needs to be indented. And that should be enough to spawn a database, right? So we can do Docker Compose app build, and now we have a database running. Right. So next thing, we need to add a CORM to our project. And of course, Copilot makes things up. So at this point, it's 0.11. And we need features indeed, but not Rocket support. We need SQLX Postgres. Yep. We need the runtime for Tokyo. You can use async SDD as well, but I prefer Tokyo. And we need macros. Next, we need to go to our command line We need to make sure we have sea-orm-cli installed. So if I have it, I mean, of course, if I do this, you'll get all the help from Sea-Orm. So you can install sea-orm-cli but just by doing a cargo install, which I'm not sure what it's going to do. So it's already installed. This is it basically. Right, so the next step is we need to create a database schema. So in order to do that, we're going to create something called a migration. So we're going to use sea-orm-cli migrate init. So this command creates a folder called migration, and inside there it added an example project. So if we go back to Vim running, we can go through this and look what has been added. So this is the lib.rs. This file, which has a date and basically create table. So it's going to create that table in the database. And if we go here, we can look at it create a sample. So basically if we delete those two lines and those two lines, we have a table called post with ID, title, and text. So we're going to use this one. So here, in order to be able to run our migration, which we just created, we need to add those two features, which basically is the drivers that the migration will run on. So now if we write sea-orm-cli migrate does you and the connection string of our database, it should go and create a table. In order to verify that the table has actually been created, I'm going to use a tool which is called GoBank, which is basically Postgres and a MySQL viewer. I mean, I could use a MySQL command line, but this is actually better for this case. So we need to edit a file. We can see our table it is called post, and that it has indeed ID, title, and text. So the next step is to basically create our models, automatically generate models for Rust directly from the database. And we're using sea-orm-cli again, and we do generate entity again, connection string, and in the place we're going to generate the output. So going back to our code, we can go and see that we actually generated the model automatically from the database. What we need to do now is create the database connection on the Rocket function. Doing like connection base connect. So here we're going to pass the connection string. Actually, let's hard code it. And I think it should be better to match it. Connection is fine, we get a connection, else we panic. We need to add sea-orm. We're going to add everything to make it simple. And now we need to somehow pass the database connection from this function into our endpoint functions. In order to do that, we need to create state for Rocket. It can be easily added on the object. So basically manage connection. And then we can go to the endpoint. Add the property. So now we have passed the connection to the get endpoint. Before we do anything, we're going to create a post endpoint. Again, name start. to rename this start, get start, and post start, which will again take the connection. And we'll go and add both of them into our mount property. We need to use we'll change the outcome record created. So here we need to create a new record, which is of type post. Yeah, active model. And we have title. Let's not make our life hard. Let's put the model next to it. Which has title and text. And we need the default here because of the ID, else it would complain. And then basically we do insert record. So in this case I think we need clone. This is to include everything. We forgot to make our functions async. They need to be, and also we forgot to cast our connection. Because we're not using the result, which we can, but we're not using the result. So if we do cargo build, it's fine. We have the connection in the get, which is not being used. So let's go fix that. Do let result equals post find all. Oh wait, I just realized I forgot a T in Postgres. So now we have our server running, our database running, and we can do a post request. It says record created, and if we come back to the GET request, it says record retrieved. So now if we go back to the running API, we can see in the console the insert that it did when we did the post request, and the get that it executed when we did the get request, which is this is the query, and this is what we got back. We can go to GoBank as well, and we can see a record on the database. So this is the basic introduction. What I want to do next is do something a bit more complicated, like accept a specific data model by posting JSON, which in Rocket it's a bit more complicated from what we saw today. So if you enjoyed this one, well, join me on the next one as well. Thank you.